We'll start in our seated position on your mat. It can be cross-legged or on the ankles, just however's comfy. And as you're arriving, just like kind of scooch side to side, maybe pull the flesh of your sit bones back so that you can really feel the actual bones making contact with the floor. And feel a really gentle tuck in your tailbone, so you're feeling some length in your lower back. And allow your shoulders to rest in a neutral position, so they're not pulling back too much and they're not curled forward. They're just very neutral and in line with the heart. And the back of your neck is nice and long, so your heart and chin are kind of coming closer to each other. And let's start with a nice big cleansing breath. So take a deep and intentional breath in through the nose and take a few more sips of air, even once you think you're full, just slowly filling up and pausing for just a moment. And then slowly, as you need to, letting it go. And same thing here, pushing a little bit more air out of you, even once you think you're empty, truly emptying and pausing. And just allowing the next breath to come as it needs to. And we'll start just by syncing up our neck with these deeper breaths. So you can just start to allow your right ear to come toward the right shoulder. You can allow your chin to come down to the chest, your left ear to come over to the left shoulder. You can take these half circles, just going back and forth like this, chin to chest, ear to shoulder, switching sides, and you can move with an inhale going one direction and with an exhale going the other, or if there's another pattern with breathing that makes more sense to you, you can do that, of course. And if that feels good, you can continue with that style of a neck roll. But if you'd like to try focusing more on the chin, you can try that as well. So maybe just picturing drawing circles with the chin, going really big in one direction, big in the other, and just notice the difference between these styles and notice what your body likes or prefers this morning. But just trying to zoom in to the actual vertebrae that's in your neck, the actual spine, and see if you can just see the shapes that you're making as your body moves into that shape and see the difference. And you can also start to bring your chin over your shoulder and to the opposite shoulder. And when you're doing that, maybe even exaggerating it by putting, so if your chin is over your left shoulder, you can bring your right hand to your right collarbone and just kind of draw that line down so that you really feel it across the front side of your neck. You can even like massage it a little if you want, from like the back of the ear and down to the shoulder collarbone. And then switching sides when you want to. Just letting yourself experiment and become curious about where the tension is today. And you can also bring both of your hands to interlace them and bring them behind on your neck, and just let your elbows kind of hang and let your head fall back and just kind of rock side to side. That could feel pretty nice. And really feel that like counter. So you're pulling the neck and the neck is releasing into the hands at an equal amount. And then just allow your chin to come down to the chest and kind of keep your hands here. You can keep exploring, massaging a little bit. Keep breathing. And then when you're ready, we'll gradually make our way into a tabletop position. So you can roll over the ankles or just make your way there in your own way. But as you arrive or when you land, just checking in that your shoulders are over the wrists and the hips are over the knees. And when you look back between the thighs, the toes are hidden behind the thighs. And the creases of your wrists are parallel to the front edge of your mat. And your fingers are spread so wide that you can feel the skin in between the fingers stretching. really intentional with the hands. And if you root the tops of your feet and shins into the mat, you'll feel the core start to turn on. And just being very intentional with all our postures today, getting the most out of them. And on your next breath in, you can gradually start to move into your cow pose, letting the belly come toward the ground, the chin lifting away from the sternum, the tailbone lifting up toward the ceiling, and exhaling to your cat pose, lifting the back of the heart, tucking the chin, tucking the tailbone, and just continuing to move with your breath and practicing allowing your breath to guide the movement rather than the other way around. And as your body inhales, you move into the next position. And you can even play around with changing which movement you take with the inhale. Like you can try coming into a cat pose on an inhale and like breathing into the back of your body. And then as you exhale, letting that go into your cow pose. Just playing around, taking any other movements that your body wants to take whenever you want to take them. Wagging the tail, including the neck into some shoulder rolls, or if you want to get into the outer thighs or the outer hips, you can let your hips kind of dip off to each side, to the left and to the right. You get a pretty nice stretch. And just notice how your hands are responding the longer that we're in here too. You'll notice that the knuckles start to kind of come off the mat and the hands are just kind of hanging out. And that is what causes a lot of wrist pain. So if we can be really intentional with the knuckles and with the fingertips, it takes the pressure out of the wrist. But if at any point it's too much, you can stack the wrist so that you come onto your fists. So you're not having that right angle with the wrist. And that can be a lot nicer. So just know whatever you need today is there for you. And just a few more breaths, warming up the spine, maybe letting out some audible breaths, some audible exhales to just communicate to your nervous system that we are getting into the body, getting into the breath, we're releasing what we don't need. So then from here, you can come back to your neutral tabletop when you're ready. I'm just going to inhale your right arm out to the side and up. So your heart is opening up to the right and shoulders are kind of stacking more on top of each other, and lift out of your left shoulder, lift up. And then as you exhale, you can slowly start to thread the needle. So the right arm comes under the left, right ear and shoulder come to the ground. And there's a lot of options you can take here. So first, when you first arrive, you'll notice that your left hip wants to come forward. So you can even take your left hand to guide it back. You just want to pull the left hip crease back so the hips stay in line with each other or parallel to the front edge of the mat. And you'll feel a nicer stretch down the left side of the body. You can push into the ground with your left hand and try to bring your gaze and your heart more toward the ceiling. You can also walk your left fingertips forward so you're feeling the space between your left fingertips and the left hip crease. Taking audible, deep exhales using your Ujjayi breath if you would like, creating that restriction in the back of the throat. Breathing in and out through the nose. And take about 3 more breaths here. And then you can start to bring your left hand back to the ground in front of your face if it's left. And before you totally unwind, just turn your chin or turn your gaze back to the floor and pause for a second. You get a nice stretch across your right bicep. And then you can put more weight into the left hand and unwind. Maybe you reach all the way back up. Maybe you just shake out the arm. And we'll meet back in tabletop. And we'll move through that on the other side when you're ready. First, just noticing the difference. And then inhaling, left arm out and up. Oof. And just feel yourself lifting up actively. And on your next exhale, you can thread the needle, bringing left ear and shoulder to the ground. And same thing on this side. So playing around or just noticing the difference of this side first, noticing how now your right hip wants to come forward and guiding your right hip back a bit more just to keep them parallel to the front edge of the mat. And each time that you exhale, maybe your gaze comes a little bit more toward the ceiling. Maybe your heart starts to energetically move toward the ceiling. Maybe your right fingertips walk forward at some point, and you feel the space exaggerated between the right fingertips and the right hip crease. Wherever you are, breathing deeply, continuing to hear your breath, feel your breath. Allow your breath to help you. 3 more rounds. And then start to bring the right hand back to the ground in front of the face. And before we totally unwind, just turn your gaze to the floor and just pause in that nice stretch across the left arm. And then when you're ready, you can press into the ground with the right hand, unwind, maybe shake it out. And coming back to center and tabletop. And from here, we will get a more even stretch. So just walking the hands forward, you can melt the heart down and come into your puppy pose. And just keeping the hips right over the knees, knowing that the tendency will be to be in more of like a child's pose and the hips are going to want to come back a bit more. So just trying to lift them so that they stay on top of the knees, and that'll concentrate it more toward the chest. Exactly. And your forehead or your chin can be on the mat or a block. And check in with your arms and your hands and stay pretty active in your forearms and your hands so that you're not dumping too much weight or pressure into the shoulders. This is more active. It's an active release. And take about 3 more breaths here. And breathe into whatever place is feeling the loudest. And then from here, we'll make our way into a Sphinx pose. So you can start to wave your body through and forward and tuck the tailbone down toward the ground and then bring your pubic bone to the mat. And you'll land and you'll probably want to scoot your elbows slightly forward, more toward the front edge of the mat. But when you look down, your wrists, elbows, and shoulders are all in line with each other and all parallel to the side edge of your mat. And then from a side angle, the elbows might just be slightly in front of the shoulders, just so that the very bottom of your rib cage can be on the mat. And start to root down in your big toes. You can zip up your thighs so that your legs are coming together really actively. Press your pubic bone down into the mat and see if at the same time you can relax the glutes, which can be really tricky to press the pubic bone down without having the glutes active. Just playing around with that, and then feel like your heart is coming through your upper arms. You're feeling like the hands are rooting down and you could drag the floor toward your toes. Your gaze is slightly in front of the mat so that your neck stays nice and long. One more breath here. Just feeling all the components. And exhaling to release. You can make a pillow with the hands. You can bend the knees toward the bum, or the feet toward the bum, and just windshield wiper back and forth to massage your belly, to release your hips, to release your lower back. Great. And then we'll do another chest stretch here, or arm shoulder stretch. So you can extend your legs long again and just extend your left arm so that the hand is in line with the shoulder. Your thumb can be facing up or toward the direction of your head. And then you bend your right arm so that the hand comes to the ground and turn your gaze to the right. And to start to push yourself and roll onto your left hip, coming into our whale's tail pose. So, and then you can bend your right leg so that the sole of the foot is resting behind the left leg. Mom, so extend your left arm. Put your left arm out to the side. Yeah, and put it on the ground. Perfect. And now do that, what you were just doing. Roll on. Yeah, perfect. So you can stay like this. You can kind of come into more butterfly position with like the soles of the feet coming together. If that feels good, that's like the full whale's tail shape. Kind of cute. And just see if you can fully relax your head to the mat. See if you can fully relax your left arm and just allow the stretch to occur. If at any point you feel like numb or tingling, then slowly come out. But just take about 2 more breaths here. Breathe into that left pectoral muscle. See if you can let your hips face the ceiling a little bit more. And then on the next exhale, slowly rolling back onto the belly. Noticing the difference. Probably feel pretty big. And then we'll move through that on the other side. So you can extend your right arm out to the side, resting on the mat. And then bring the left hand to the ground, turn onto the left ear and start to roll on the right ear, sorry. And then start to roll onto the right hip. Yeah, you got it. And again, you can bring the soles of the feet together. You want that whale's tail shape. But just seeing if you can let your hips be heavy and let your belly kind of face more toward the ceiling. And just allow gravity to bring you deeper. So you're not pushing or being too aggressive on the body or on the arm. You can notice how this side feels compared to the last. And taking 2 more breaths. And then when you're ready, you can start to slowly roll back onto your belly and just bring your hands down so the backs of the hands are on the ground next to your legs. You can turn onto one ear and just rest for a moment. Give your shoulders a little break. Maybe wiggle the hips back and forth or do anything to reset. And then when you're ready, you can bring your hands underneath the shoulders and let the elbows point up toward the ceiling and zip them up tight toward your ribs. And you can tuck your toes under, bring your gaze to the mat, and maybe you push yourself up right through a plank. Maybe you come up through a tabletop first. And when you're ready, lifting the hips back and up to your downward facing dog. Awesome. So as you arrive, first down dog of the day, let's keep the legs pretty generously bent so that we can really focus on the spine to start. And you can stretch out the soles of the feet by bringing the heels over the balls of the feet, making sure all the toes are grounded. You can take turns, straightening out each leg, walking your dog. And just remembering what we did with the hands in tabletop and keeping that same energy here. So keeping the knuckles pretty active, the fingertips, the hands are intentionally placed. Your heart is reaching toward your upper thighs and your armpits feel like they could almost face each other and you're feeling this wrapping sensation of the shoulders. Perfect. And all the energy is reaching up through the space in between your sit bones. So it might almost feel like you're trying to arch your lower back. You're not going to do that, but that's kind of the feeling. You can take turns looking under each armpit. That can feel really nice. Staying with your breath. 2 more rounds. And then slowly you can start to bend the knees, look up toward the mat, the top of your mat, and just walk your feet up to meet your hands slowly. And when you arrive at the top of your mat, you can inhale and lengthen your spine forward. So you're feeling that tabletop spine, lifting it out of the hips, and then exhaling to your forward fold. And you can let your arms be wherever they want to be. They can hang out on the floor. You can grab opposite elbows and ragdoll. You can keep them on the hips or just wherever they want to be. You can grab the toes. But notice where the weight is now located on the feet. See that there's about 2 fists in between the feet. That's about hips width distance. And maybe even lifting the toes for just a moment, just to feel the 4 corners or 3 corners of your feet, however that makes sense to you. And letting the toes be intentional and that extra support. So it's almost like someone could slide a piece of paper underneath your heels. So you're really exaggerating the forward. There's a reason that it's called a forward fold and not a fold forward. You want to focus on the forward part first. And even with the knees bent, letting the hips be high and reaching up, letting the head and shoulders be so heavy that just gravity and the weight of your body is what's lengthening your spine. And just tuning into the full length of your back body. Trace the space from your heels, up the backs of your legs, through the glutes, through the back spine, the neck and the head. Big exhales, 2 more. And then 1 more deep exhale. And on your next inhale, slowly, maybe just walking the hands up the legs this time, just rolling your body up to stand, being very gentle. Head, shoulders last to come up, palms facing out, mountain pose. Let's allow everything to settle. If you need to let out any sighs or any noises or maybe shake, feel free. And we'll start to flow a little bit. So you can roll at the ankles too, actually. You can just start to take some circles with your knee, going one direction and with like the top of the toes on the mat. Yeah, and it kind of gets into your hip and the ankle. And then when you're ready, let's come back to our mountain pose. And as you inhale, sweep the arms out and up. And just imagine yourself gathering up all that air. And exhale, hands can come through heart center as you hinge at the hips. And keep yourself lifting up and out of your hips for as long as you can. And then letting the spine curl as you need to. Forward fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Once again, lift out of the hips. Half lift and exhale, fold. Plant the hands down. Inhale, step the feet back to a plank position. Always options to have the knees down, but we'll just pause and plank for a moment. Letting the collarbones be broad, reach forward, heels reach back, crown of the head reaches forward. Perfect, so strong. And then slowly lowering yourself down in one piece or with the knees first, down to the mat. As you inhale, lift the heart forward first and then up. Baby cobra. Exhale, release. You can push yourself back up through a plank or through a table and lift your hips to your down dog. 3 exhales. Maybe you take a lion's breath, sticking out the tongue, looking up toward the forehead. Letting it go. One more. When you're ready, bend the knees, look up and step up. Halfway lift as you inhale. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, root down through the feet to rise all the way up to stand. Maybe you start to open up the heart and let the backs of the hands reach toward each other. And exhale, hands come to heart center. Perfect. Next inhale, reach all the way up. Get super long, maybe a slight back bend. Exhale, hinge at the hips, swan dive all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, let that go. Plant your hands, step back to your plank. Move through your vinyasa, whatever version you'd like to take, and we'll meet in our down dog. Maybe you flutter the lips. Let it all go. On your next inhale, you can go ahead and raise your right leg back and up. And maybe just keeping the hips square for now to really feel a nice hamstring stretch down the back of the left leg. Maybe you just stay here. Maybe this is good for you right now. And if you'd like to start to open up the hips a little, you can start to think about stacking your right hip on top of the left. Just opening up toward the right side of the room. Maybe you take circles with your knee, going big in both directions a few times. And being very intentional with the hands, with the arms, remembering your foundation. And then you can level out the hips, extend your right leg as you inhale. And exhale, pull your knee in toward the chest using a cat spine. Rise onto the left toes, shift the shoulders over the wrists, and place the foot at the top of the mat. Maybe use your right hand to get it there. And you can let your back foot come down to warrior one legs. And as you're ready, we'll rise up to our warrior one. So your back toes are kind of facing the front left corner of the mat. The four corners of both feet are firm on the mat. So as close as your stance needs to be, as wide as it needs to be to achieve that, then do that. You can pretend that there's headlights on your hips and that they're going right in front of you. You're rooting down, especially in the outside edge of your left foot. Your front knee is over that front ankle. And if you lift your toes, you should still feel sturdy. And then your toes are just that extra support. And now also feel your tailbone tucking down, and that will really increase the stretch in the left hip flexor, lengthening the lower back. Your hands can be on the hips, they can be at heart center, they can be reaching up, wherever they want. And feel like your feet are dragging away from each other, and at the same time, your inner thighs are pulling in toward each other. It's a really tricky balance. And your pelvic floor is active here as well. Perfect. One more breath here. Great, and then as you inhale, start to cactus your arms. So the backs of your hands are coming toward each other. Your palms can face away from you. Elbows, shoulder blades coming toward each other. And we'll inhale to reach the arms up. Exhale to cactus. Do that twice more. Inhale to reach. Exhale to open. One more time, just like that. And now this time you can interlace the hands back behind you. And with your left thumb on top, let's do this time. And then just pull the fist toward the ground as you open your heart up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, just start to hinge at your hips, just like in a forward fold. Lead with the heart. And maybe come into your humble warrior, bringing your right shoulder to the inside of your right knee. Awesome. So just remember, everything stays the same about your legs and your feet. The inner thighs coming in toward each other is really helpful. You can let your fists kind of pull you more in front. If at any point it feels too much to hold the hands, you can grab opposite elbows. You can be in reverse prayer. Just grab the back of your shirt is fine too. Just trying to bring the heels of your hands close together. And then using your fists, you can imagine someone's pulling them up and then back, bringing you all the way back up. Release the hands, stick them out, and then reach into the ground with your front foot. Straighten out that leg. Hands come back to the hips. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, once again, hinge at the hips and feel yourself lifting up and out and forward and come into your pyramid pose. You can keep the hands here for a little extra core work, just trying to keep your spine really straight if you'd like. You can fold at any point, bringing your hands to frame your front foot and releasing your forehead toward the shin. Whatever works for you, wherever you are, just keeping that right hip pulling back so that the hips stay square to the front. And you're feeling the space between the right heel and the right hip. One more big exhale. Great. And then you can just put a slight bend in your front leg. Plant your hands down around the front foot. Step back to your plank position. Move through your vinyasa flow, and we'll meet in our downward facing dog. And know that the flows are always optional. They're just add a little bit of heat to the practice. Just letting it all go. When you are ready, we will move through that on the other side. So next time you inhale, lift your left leg back and up. And maybe you keep the hips square for now, just to feel a nicer stretch down the right hamstring. You can stay here, or if you do it on the other side, stacking the hips, left hip coming more on top of the right, opening up, and maybe taking some circles with that knee, going a few times big in both directions, 2 or 3 times. And just keeping the arms and your foundation strong, remembering how strong you are. One more breath. And next inhale, you can let the hips come back to face the mat. Extend your left leg as you inhale. And then exhale, pull the knee into the chest using your core, cat spine. Rise onto the right toes, shift the shoulders over the wrists. Left foot comes to the top of the mat. Rise up, warrior 1. So same thing over here, just checking in with your, whatever your alignment needs to be, so that your hips stay square to the front edge of the mat. Your feet are in separate train tracks, kind of. Both feet are firm on the mat, all 4 corners, especially the outside edge of your back leg, back foot. And letting that tailbone really tuck straight down and the crown of your head really lift straight up. And you'll feel a nicer stretch down the right hip flexor. The arms can be wherever they want to be. And just feeling that counter action in the legs. There's so much going on in this pose. So you can really, this is one that really forces you present, because there's things you could be focusing on the whole time. So your feet feel like they're dragging away. Your inner thighs feel like they're coming toward each other. Tailbone is tucking down. Heart is proud. You're breathing. Breath is steady. Feet are strong. And then as you inhale, you can reach the arms up, reach the fingertips up, palms face each other. And as you exhale, palms face away from you, backs of the hands, elbows come toward each other. Great. Twice more. Inhale to reach. Exhale to open. Inhale to reach. And exhale to open. And now you can go and interlace the hands with the opposite thumb on top, so the right thumb, whichever one you didn't do. Pull the fists toward the ground as you open the heart toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, hinging at the hips, leading with the heart, humble warrior. Left shoulder comes to the inside of the left knee, keeping your balance, keeping your feet active and strong. Maybe feeling a slight lift in the arch of the feet. And that can really activate some muscles. Letting the head relax a bit deeper. 2 more breaths. And then next inhale, you can imagine someone's pulling your fists up toward the ceiling and then back behind you, lifting you back up, warrior 1. Shake them out. Slowly straighten out your front leg. And we'll come into our pyramid pose. Your hands can come to the hips and lift the heart. Exhale and hinge. Fold. Same on this side. You can stay with the hands on the hips. And keeping that lower belly in and up, keeping the crown of the head reaching forward, this little extra core work, or you can bring the hands to frame the front foot, release the head. Wherever you are breathing. Wherever you are continuously pulling that left hip crease back slightly, feeling the space from the left heel through the hip, seeing how much you can let go. 2 more exhales. Awesome. You can slowly start to put a bend in your front leg. You can bring your hands to frame that front foot. Step back to your plank position. Move through a vinyasa if you'd like, and we'll meet in our downward facing dogs. From here, bend the knees, look up and step up. Halfway lift as you inhale. Exhale and fold. Inhale, root down through the feet, rise all the way up. Maybe you open the heart when you rise. And exhale, hands come to heart center. And pause. Check back in. Feel the heartbeat. Feel the blood settle. Maybe bring attention to the space between the eyebrows. And just remind yourself that you are here. You're doing what you need to do. And start to slow down a little bit. So when you're ready, you can inhale and slowly rise the hands all the way up. Keeping that length in the spine as you exhale. Lead with the heart, hands at the hips, swan dive all the way down. Inhale, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Plant your hands down, step back plank as you inhale. And you can move through a vinyasa as you exhale. Inhale to your back bend. And exhale, meeting in your down dog whenever you're ready. And from here, you can bend the knees and slowly let them find the mat. You can untuck the toes and let the hips sink down on the heels as you come into your child's pose. You can make a pillow with your hands and rest the forehead there. You can let the arms reach forward. You can be in more of an embryo pose with the backs of the hands on the ground alongside your feet. The shoulders curled, whatever expression of this pose you'd like to take. And just fully relax your jaw. Fully relax your lips and your forehead. Let the shoulders soften. Let the hips soften. And 2 more exhales. And then slowly, as you feel ready, you can gently push into the ground and rise up to a seat on your heels. And we'll do a quick little stretch. That's kind of fun here. You just let both of your hips come off to the left and both your hands go over to the right. You can just pause here. And then you come back to center, the hips come back, walk the hands forward, and then go to the other side. Hips go off to the right, hands to the left. You can do that a few more times if you'd like, if that feels good. Or just find some stillness if that feels better. And when you're ready, just letting the hips stay to one side, kicking the feet out in front of you, coming to your seat on your mat. And as when you arrive, let's do some windshield wipers. So the feet can come as wide as your mat, hands resting behind you, and just let the Knees fall to either side, and just kind of move slowly so that you can really massage out your glutes as you do this. You can really feel the internal rotation of the hips and just notice how it feels. And when you're ready, you can come back to center and extend both legs forward and hug your right knee in toward your chest. And you can keep it on the inside of the leg if this feels good. You can cross it over if that feels better. You get a little bonus stretch on the glute. And then bring your right hand back behind you. You can inhale your left arm to reach up and get long in the spine. And then exhale to twist toward your right. So you're kind of, there's some options with your arm. So you can hug your knee in toward the chest. You can hook the elbow on the outside of the knee. You can do something else if that feels better. And just trying to bring your gaze or your chin so that's over the right shoulder. And each time that you inhale, let the crown of your head reach up toward the ceiling. And each time you exhale, let yourself twist a tiny bit more. Letting your navel pull in toward the spine. Really bringing out your organs, really detoxing all your intestines. 2 more breaths. And then as you unwind, you can bring your head back to center first, followed by the shoulders. You can extend your leg forward, maybe shake it out, and we'll switch sides. You can hug your left knee in toward the chest, cross it over if you did that on the other side. And left hand comes back behind you. Inhale, right arm up. And exhale to twist. Same options. You can hug the leg, you can hook the elbow, whatever feels best. But just being intentional with the length of your spine, letting the crown of your head be magnetically drawn up toward the ceiling with each inhale. And with each exhale, bringing your gaze a little bit more over the left shoulder. And allowing your body to move with each breath that you take. Even if it's really slight and subtle movements, just a really slight lift and a slight deeper twist. Just letting yourself be moving with the breath. Letting the navel pull into the spine as you exhale. About 3 more breaths. And slowly bring your head back to center, the shoulders. Unwind, shake out the legs. And you can bring the soles of your feet together. And we'll come into our butterfly pose. You can let the flesh of your sit bones move back, kind of wiggle back and forth so you find that grounding. And you can let this be active by keeping the spine straight and inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to hinge. You can keep doing that with the soles of the feet pressing toward each other. Or you can make this a little more restorative if you'd like at any point and just curl into the spine and fully release beneath the weight of gravity. And just notice the shape that your body's in, even with the eyes closed. Just tracing the shape of your body. And noticing how the feet are kind of closing that energetic circuit. So are your hands if they're touching. And feeling just how all your energy is swirling inside of you. This is a really restorative pose, rejuvenating. Just allowing yourself to kind of rest in this building of energy. Letting your face be totally soft, your forehead and eyebrows, your jaw. 2 more deep exhales. And then slowly, as you're ready, coming back up to your seat. You can bring the knees in together and give yourself a hug, either behind the thighs or in front of the shins. And then as you're ready, you can slowly start to open up, and we're going to come into our fish pose now. So can extend the feet forward, and I think this is the easiest way I've heard to get into it. So let yourself lean back on your forearms so that your elbows are stacked under the shoulders. You're just kind of like hanging out, it's a hanging out pose. And then imagine there's a string at your heart, and that string is lifting you forward and up, kind of toward like the corner of the room. Then your head just relaxes and the crown of your head reaches toward the floor. If at any point this is way too much on your neck, just allow your chin to pull toward your sternum and come out of it. But allow your head to kind of find the floor and just continue. You might need to scoot your elbows down toward your hips a bit more as the lower you get, and just keep that string on the heart lifting up. So like this. And then if at any point you need to come out of it, again, feel the chin come toward your chest and just slowly lower down to your back. So whenever you do make your way out of that fish pose, you can just let yourself settle, let yourself adjust to being on the floor. And you can hug your knees in toward the chest and just rock side to side, massage your lower back, feel more length in the back side of the body. And just to counter that fish pose a bit, our option, I guess, to come into a shoulder stand and a plow pose. If you would like, if you don't want to do that, no worries whatsoever. You can just skip it and you're stay doing some twists or wind down. But if you are, make sure to keep your gaze toward the ceiling the whole time. You really don't want to move your neck at all when you have all that pressure on your neck. When you can lift your feet up toward the ceiling, use your hands and walk them up your spine so that you are holding on to this, your waist kind of. And you can stay in a shoulder stand, letting your legs be strong, your glutes be strong and stacked for the most part over your rib cage. Or you can just release and hinge at the hips and allow the feet to come down over your head. Maybe you bend the knees and come into more of a snail pose. Maybe you interlace the hands together. But really breathe into the back side of the body. This is a really deep stretch for the back side of the body. And then as you're ready to come out of this, you can use your core to bring your legs back up toward the ceiling. Use your hands to slowly support yourself and walk them down toward your glutes. So you can feel your back rolling down. And you might just use some momentum to roll down on the spine and relax. So one more counter for that big back bend. You can come into a brief bridge pose if you'd like, bringing the heels up under the knees and just lifting the hips up toward the ceiling, maybe interlacing the hands beneath your hips, just keeping the inner thighs reaching toward each other, lifting the heart toward your chin. And exhale to release slowly down. You can let both knees fall over to the right and pause for a moment or two in a torso twist. And at any point, you can move to the other side. And then whenever you're ready, when you're even on both sides and you're feeling complete with your practice, you can bring your legs and arms up toward the ceiling and just come into this final restorative pose where you just fully release your limbs into the sockets and fully release the weight of your body into the mat, into the earth. And just allow all the poses you practiced today to settle within you. Allow the organs to settle back into place. Allow any helpful poses or benefits from this practice, allow them to soak into you. And anything that no longer serves you is allowed to leave your body through the feet and the hands. And if you'd like to come into a happy baby, you can do so at any point. Just opening up the hips toward the ceiling, maybe taking turns straightening each leg. And whenever you are ready, you can make your way into your final Shavasana. Slowly surrendering the weight of your body into the mat. And allowing yourself to be held and supported by the mat beneath you. Trusting that you have done everything that was asked of you. And you've showed up. And that's all that was needed of you. Trust there is nothing else you should be doing in this moment besides resting, besides allowing this practice to soak into you, so that you may take any benefits from this practice with you in whatever else you do. And allow all the muscles to surrender toward the back body, opening up the front body to the sky above you. Feeling the pulsing of the forehead, the pulsing of the crown of your head, the pulsing of your throat, the pulsing of your chest and your heart. Feel the pulsing of your stomach, the pulsing of your lower stomach and sacral area. And feel the pulsing of the root, the base of your spine. Feel the full length and weight of your legs. Feel the pulsing in the soles of your feet and each of your toes. And feel the full length and weight of your arms and the pulsing in each of your hands. Feel the pulsing of the back of your head into the earth. And just allow yourself to rest in this stillness for about another minute, just in this total body awareness. If you want to stay here longer, please allow yourself to do so. If you're feeling ready to slowly come out, and just follow my cues. And just firstly noticing the breath and therefore deepening the breath. And consciously calling air into the body. Feeling yourself filling up from the toes to the head to the fingers. Maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, rocking the head side to side. Taking a big morning stretch if you'd like. And whenever you're ready, finding your way to that fetal position on one side. And just gently pressing into the ground, rising up to your seat as we close our practice with hands at heart center. And just firstly, thank yourself for showing up today, for taking the time for this pure act of self-love and self-care. And may this act continue to heal you through the rest of your days and nights. And may you bring the same love and understanding into everything that you do and to everyone that you see. Namaste.